Yeah, you record.
Then hit share. Okay. Well, I volunteered to talk about resolution today, and what I learned is it's a subject that if you look it up on the internet, they can make it so complicated
Yep.
and hard to follow. So I thought, well, rather than do that, you're all, every one of you know how to use YouTube and Google. If you don't, we can cover that at another time. But um, I thought I would just show some practical uses and understanding of the resolution in terms of photography. And there's actually two types of resolution. And one is the pixels per inch, and then for printing, the dots per inch. We're not going to cover the printing dots per inch today. And maybe I'm hoping that in the future we can get somebody like from Legacy or something who's an actual printer, a printing company to come in to give us a Zoom class on that. So I just picked a picture at random here. And this is all going to be in Photoshop. So let me open with Photoshop.
I gotta go.
Photoshop, don't fail me now. Okay.
You use the beta version?
Yeah,
Not a boy.
it's not much different than, well, there are differences, but for this purpose, it's not.
No,
All
it's
right, so that's kind of small. So let me go up to view
I
and
don't see any different.
huh?
I don't see anything different.
yeah.
Different than what?
Yeah.
We don't
Well,
see
your
this.
opening
This is your
picture with your folders, that's all I see.
You don't see the Photoshop?
No,
No.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I think
All
you
right,
have to go
hang
out and
on.
come back in. Yeah.
Yeah. How about now?
Yep.
There you go.
There you go.
Did the same thing exactly. So anyhow, regardless. So here's a picture I took, and the first thing we're going to look at is, in terms of resolution, is we go to image, we go to image size, and I've started this out. I'm going to take this through several resolution settings, but a lot of times, the reason I have 62 in there is that's a number that comes up often when you um, share pictures or email them or stuff. And I've picked a height of 8 inches for this, and the width then is 7.39. And the way you get the dimensions in pixels is you multiply the resolution times the inches, which gives you the the 49, gives you one of these two numbers. We can find out. We can change this to pixels, and that's for, okay, so the height of 496 pixels, and the width is 456 pixels, and we're using 62 pixels per inch. Now, your camera sensor, if you had a 1 megabyte sensor, a megabyte, 1 megapixel sensor, that's 1 million pixels. So if you have a 40 millimeter, why do I keep saying that wrong? A 40 megapixel camera, that'd be 40 million pixels. Now these pixels are divided into red, blue, and green. So a third of those pixels are for red, 1/3 for green, and 1/3 for blue. So we look up here and we see with this resolution and this size, our image size is very small, 662.6. Now, how do we get that? How do we calculate it? Anybody got a calculator handy? I
Yeah,
can't
I can
operate
get-
a mouse and a calculator at the same time.
I can, just a second. Where is it?
Well, what are you trying to do, Steve?
Multiply 456 by 496.
Oh, you're gonna be 16,000 something, 17,000.
Oh, here it is. Okay. Say it again.
Now, the 456 times the 496,
56 times 496.
and then multiply that by 3. Or is it divide by 3? Well, what do you get when you multiply by 3? We'll know in it.
Okay. 678,000.
Okay, that's the correct. Now we have to, of course, move the decimal place, and that's awfully close to what they call the image size at 662.6. So why the difference between what we just did and calculating that and what the computer is saying? Well, the difference is, if you look, we talked about red, blue, and green. So when they're calculating the image size, they're not counting, I mean, the image size in megabytes. If you didn't have any blue colors, there's a third of your pixels would not be used, would not be adding to the size of the file. We're just assuming here for rough purposes that we're using all 3 colors equally. If you don't use them equally, then that number will change somewhat. So let's say we want to make this go back to inches. Okay, let's say we want to make this 16 instead of 8. So now we have, it automatically puts in a width of 14.71. And now notice at this resolution, we still have a pretty small file. And that's not going to print very well at that size because we don't have very many pixels per inch. If we change this, let's first just go up to 100. That says pixels per inch. You can see the it's went from 662K to 6.73 megabytes. So it's went up considerably. And in our work, we've been recommending 300. Okay. And now we've got a 60.6 megabyte file. And so let's say, okay. Now, because it made it much bigger, so we'll no longer fit on the screen. So let's go fit on screen. Now this will be a perfectly good image for printing. Does everybody understand the math we've done so far? Or do you want me to go over it again?
I do. I'm learning it from scratch though, because I do everything in inches because I print.
Well, yeah.
Everything is in inches. And that takes care of all of this.
You're right. This is all related, and I always work in inches here too.
And 300 DPI. And that's
And what?
300 DPI.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, you're talking about the DPI. I'm talking about 300 pixels per inch.
Correct.
And for printing, well, yeah, now we have a printer in the room. So you're saying the DPI for, we weren't going to get into DPI today, but just briefly, what does that, tell us what that means, Charlie?
Well, it's dots per inch. And that's basically, you, for online stuff, 72 is fine. And in fact, that's even kind of bogus nowadays, but the 300 DPI is just kind of a rule of thumb. I mean, Adobe has knocked it down to 240. And you know what? I'm thinking if I printed something at 240, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference, but I just do 300.
So
Yeah.
what is the difference between the DPI and resolution?
Well, that is the resolution on the print. That's how many dots you're getting per inch. That produces the resolution of whatever you're putting in there, whatever photograph you're putting in there. Now, Steve's, all this stuff it's not new to me, but I haven't studied it. And so this is really interesting to see this angle, because this is not printing per se. However, it could be very easily.
Okay, this resolution, he was talking about the printing, the resolution of the printer. This is the resolution of the image.
Yes.
It's how many pixels you've got per inch. And it may not be obvious, but the more pixels you have per inch, the better the resolution of your photograph is going to be. Now, when you go to print it, the more dots you have per inch, again, it's the same thing. It's going to enhance how the photo looks. And what us here is, I think I'm learning this as we move along, and Charlie just provided some insightful information. I've just always used, well, I always use 300, and that's what I told everybody, but because of Adobe, I had been setting some at 240.
Yeah,
But-
you're at it too.
So, but for consistency with this group, I'm using 300. So, so if you're talking inches, you can see, you can get the dimensions in pixels, which I was told the printer likes to know this information. At least the commercial printers for some reason. I haven't figured that out yet. But you just simply multiply the 300 times 16, which is 4,800, and 300 times 14.71 is 44.13. I just did that in my head, and let's see how close I came. There we go, 4,800 and 44.13. If you want to do all of that in pixels, you can, but I think it's much more convenient to work in inches.
Yep.
Because
Can I ask a question?
sure.
In that next to the resolution is a drop-down box. It says pixels per inch. What other choices are in that box?
Okay. Pixels per centimeter
Okay.
for the rest of the world.
No, that's
The world was
fine. I didn't
metric.
know if it would come up with dots per inch.
No,
Pixels per-
that would
Okay.
that would not apply to the image.
Right. Very good.
Okay, so are there any more questions? I'm going to do one more thing with this, a little bit that fits what we've been doing, and we talked about this last week, but being armed with this information, maybe what we were doing would make a little more sense. So let me say, I'm going to leave this at 300. Right now I have a height of 16 and a width of 12. So that's not very good for a, well, let's see how close it's going to be. I'm sorry, I wanted 12 by 18. And this picture is pretty square. So I have two choices I can do with this. I can do some cropping to get this down to 12. It's quite a bit for this image. but let's take a look. View, that would be our first option. Let me zoom out a little bit so see what we're doing. Okay. I'm going to close this for a minute. Okay, so how would we, and I've got the rulers turned on here. You can, it's hard to, you probably can't even see it. I wish they made these a little more, but there's the 0 and there's the 18. But this one is, goes from 0 to 14. So we have one choice would be to make it, crop it narrower. And we can do that. And we can select, and I always forget which one is which, but let's see, 12 by 18. Okay, if I did that, this is what my picture would look like.
Yeah, and you can move it over. Yeah, that'd crop that fine.
Yeah, you can,
Yeah.
in this case, yeah, I'd probably put it like that. So if I do that, let's go ahead and let's agree on that one. And that's all I have to do. It's ready to print as a 12 by 18. Now, the reason we're going to have every file, all the files we have from everybody, and Catherine has them and I've made my own set of copies, is we have found some things that we're unsure of what's going on. But when Catherine gets these pictures, like the ones I worked with Mr. Foreman, we had them set up perfectly. And when she got them, opened them in the email, they were no longer 240 or 300, they were 96. And
That's because it burned down by whatever software sent the file.
that's what?
Whatever email you used, using Google Mail or whatever you're using, they burn it down. Or are you trying to send it full size?
We're trying to send full size.
I
But-
think they do something myself.
Yes, it's quite, I suspect the same thing too. I've seen this quite often. And we need to find an easy solution for that because we end up sharing a lot of photos. Well, when we do with 2 shows, basically we're doing 2 shows a year. And that's when we have to share a lot of files. So maybe I think, I don't know if anybody else is using Dropbox, but if I send them by Dropbox,
Yep,
they will not lose any of the settings.
that's right.
And I can send them by Dropbox to anybody, whether they have Dropbox or not, because they can open it. But we need a platform. When we come to shows, I don't think most people here are not going to go out and add Dropbox on top of their other programs, cloud storage devices or whatever, but Dropbox is really well set up for that. At least once we get past November, we have 8 months to think about it as to how to solve this problem.
Well, check this out. A friend of mine, I'm in the pageantry thing, marching band stuff and all that. And he sends me 5 gigabyte files. He'll send 20 of them at the same time. And I'm able to get it, render it, download it into my computer. Now he uses a paid program, but I have investigated and I can use it free for limited data, which limited to them is 100 gigabytes. So you see what I mean? So I'll investigate it a little farther if you want me to, and see if I can find out how we can get that done really quickly for everybody. But Dropbox is easy, and everybody, you get 2 gigabytes of data for free too. So that'll cover any JPEGs that we gotta send for sure, right, wouldn't it?
That's a good point. That was what I was, you brought up exactly what I was thinking. And that is, yes, I've got the 1 or 2 terabyte Dropbox, but you
Yeah,
can get,
I pay too, so. sure.
and, but everybody can get the free one, and that's more than adequate for sending your 5 photos at the time. So,
Well,
we,
can I throw in a suggestion that at our Thursday meetup, you just put your photos onto a thumb drive and you can download them to your computer right there on Thursday.
That's really easy.
Mhm. That's what Robin used to do.
yes.
I'm all for trying the Dropbox, but
Yeah,
if
Well,
people
there
aren't-
will be people who won't be able to come on Thursday,
mhm.
Yeah, me.
but if we can get the ones that do come on Thursday, we could do that with thumb drive. Catherine has taken the files that she received by email and put them on a thumb drive, and we're going to take a look at those tomorrow and see if we can get some more information about what's going on. And I have the correct versions of all the photographs that have been submitted. Well, I should say I don't have all of them been submitted. I have the ones that I've helped people out with. And so we can compare and do any corrections tomorrow. And we'll just simply go around the room and look at each person's picture. So,
I have a question.
Yes.
sure.
Hello?
Yes.
Oh, I know. How do you size like this particular picture? If you wanted want a print of say 24 by 36, do you size that picture at 24 36, or you try to get as many pixels within the inch and let the printer then blow it up from there?
Okay.
Or what?
I've got the answer for you. Just let me undo this. All right. So if I wanted this to be, let me clear this. Okay. What all the computer really cares about is the aspect ratio.
Yep.
To avoid confusion in our group, we've asked people to size it to the inches they want to use. But if I want to make this a 12 by 16, 12 by 18, that's a 4 by 6 ratio. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 6 is 18. So I can just pick this aspect ratio, and then if I go to image, okay, there we put the X. Now we have, okay, good. Zoom was scaring me. I've had some issues with Zoom and Photoshop and that in itself. So now if I go to image size, well, maybe because I'd already did that before, but as long as this ratio is 4 by 6 and you had this at 300, Charlie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the printer doesn't care.
The printer doesn't care.
Huh?
See, the printer doesn't care. When we started talking about this, I've been doing this for so long, I don't pay attention to a lot of it. And pixels per inch is what I come up with on mine, and that's what I've been using for years and years. So I just care about the inches and how big I want the thing because I build my own frames and blah blah blah. See, and it prints out great. Have you ever done any printing from Bay Photo out of your SmugMug?
Yes, I have.
And they don't care either. All they care about is the size.
Right.
You got to have enough. The resolution part of this is really important. So the 300 number is super important.
That's the important, and then the aspect ratio. But
Right.
like I said, maybe by trying to avoid confusion, maybe we caused some confusion.
Right.
Well,
But
how do you take this picture here that's 12 by 18 and make it a 24 by 36?
All you
Um,
do is type in numbers. Type in
you don't have to change anything. If you tell the printer, you got this at 300, and you tell them to print it at 24 by 36, that's what it'll be.
Yeah, but you can size it right there in that window. Just
Sure
type
you
in
can.
24 right there, and bang, it'll happen all by itself. Bang, you're there.
Just for that, this is for your own personal satisfaction. I was going to do some 24 by 36s for the creative arts. And I found out it was over $100 to get it printed at that size, excuse me.
So hit the OK button there.
Is it really $100?
Yeah, it's around 114 is what is what Legacy
It's
told
pretty
me.
expensive. It is expensive. But my thing is, are you going to have that same resolution, that clearness and everything? Is still going to be the same, just like what we're looking at 24 by 36. I'm going to get that same quality of picture.
As long as you have the 300 pixels per inch, I believe so. Yes, you are. Am I right, Charlie?
You will get what you originally put in. If you download, take for example, you download something from the internet and it's like a real small KB file, right?
Yeah.
And then you put it in Photoshop and you resize it, then it may or may not look okay. It probably won't. And when you go to print, it's going to look just exactly like that. So you got to have something big enough before you start doing this stuff. But the resizing, the automatic resample down at the bottom there, it's golden for me. I mean, you know, my eyes are still pretty good, and my prints look good when they're big, and I can print 16 inches wide and by as long as you want. So, you know, it's just me.
When you take a picture with a iPhone, that's the resolution on that when you download it is 72.
If you download it, yes, but you get it straight from the phone, it's going to be more than that.
Well, if you take a picture of the iPhone and you put it in Photoshop, I believe it's going to show it at 72.
Yeah, you're not getting good resolution there. But if you go into the phone, just to put it right into your computer, right from the phone, then you're going to get much better resolution than 72.
Okay, well, okay, now this one is a 24 by 36 with 72. So let's see if we can get cooperation here and click on print size. And now you're going to get an idea of if you had an iPhone picture, it's going to look crappy.
Like that.
Right. That's my concern. Yeah.
Now there are other softwares you can use to sharpen it up. Do you use Topaz, Steve?
I use Lightroom has a sharpener, and I also have DxO.
Right, DxO is good. And,
Yeah.
you know, so is Topaz. There are a number of softwares out there. Most of them cost, but it's really helpful when you get into a situation like this, when you have something like an old photo. Let's say you're revamping an old photograph, and you've gone to the trouble of scanning in all that stuff. Still, it's not going to look that great until you might have to use one of these softwares to sharpen things up. That's all. Not so sure it's good for everybody, but I use it all the time. I mean, I got this stuff.
Well, this is Catherine and I talked yesterday, and so I just had the half a day or whatever between naps to work on this, and I think we've gained a good understanding. Would everyone agree? A better understanding of how this works, and as we in the future, I think before we do the next show, we need to review this again, probably in more detail, We've got Charlie as a printer, but I would also like to get a commercial printer's input, probably going to be very similar to Charlie's.
I think what you need to do, you can go right to Bay Photo from Smug Mode, from your Smug Mode.
Yeah,
And actually, anybody can access that, any of the big printers in the country, but Bay Photo is really good. And I've used them all the time. If I want to send a print to somebody, I'll have them do it. Why, not me print it out and then try to package the thing so it won't get destroyed. I'll have them do it. And believe me, their prices are very reasonable.
yeah. When you go to Smug Mug, I think there's now 3 of us using it, Amy, myself, and Charlie. But that's not the point. The point is if you want to buy the photo, it doesn't ask you anything except what size do you want it, period. That's it. And
Hey,
what you want
Charlie?
to print it on.
Can I ask Charlie a question?
Yes,
You said their prices are reasonable. What's reasonable for like a 8.5 by 11 color print?
Well, I haven't done it in a long time, Kevin, but I sell photographs and I try to keep the prices down, but like I want to get for an 8 by 10, I want to get $20 out of them. But my price from Smug Mug is, I think, a couple of bucks. So, yeah, and now look, if you use the Bay Photo independently, their prices, I don't know that they're a lot that low, but it isn't super expensive, man. It just isn't.
oh,
And
Because I went to,
what you pay for a lot of is the packaging, because printing's simple. Once you get the thing set up, it's easy.
because I went to that Promex on Signal Hill here just recently and had something printed, and they have a minimum charge of $10.
Now,
It was like $6.95 for an 8.5 by 11, but
about right.
$10 to do a minimum charge. So
That sounds about right.
I just tried Promax and I had a 16 by 20 made. They did a beautiful job on it. It was $60 for the print and then 15 additional to put some backing on it.
16 by what?
So 16 by 20.
You know what? I'll do a lot better. I'll do an equal job, and I'll do it a hell of a lot cheaper than that.
Ah,
But, yeah, I got a 16 by printer, so I can do anything, any length, and I've done a lot of panoramas that I've done. But, yeah, just a matter of contacting me, and we'll figure something out.
Okay, well,
Oh, great.
I'm going to stop share and I'm going to stop recording. If it will let me, here we go.